Do you think Nintendo will stop this if they get enough negative feedback? No. Is it more a nerf for big or small tournaments? Both, I guess. Because like the thing is, with small tournaments, you can't make money from small tournaments at all, and you have to be very transparent about it. So like every person that runs locals in 2024 just needs to be like, hey, this is how much money my venue costs, and this is how many people exist in it. And so like basically the TOs are never allowed to make money, so whatever money they have left over has to go into the pot, right? So like, let's say a venue charges $3 per person that comes in. Like, let's say that's the deal, right? You $3 per person, but you charge $6 because you're running the tournament. You want to make some money. You can't do that anymore. Whatever the cost of the venue is subtracted, and everything else goes to the pot. And tournaments that are bigger need to be licensed. And again, my hope is, right? Like, let's talk about potentially good things, right? I hope that because they're being so strict with licensing and all this shit, that it's easier to get a license, because again, it has been a painstaking process for a lot of people to get a license, right? It took, again, Panda Cup is different than a tournament, but Panda Cup took like 4 years in constant talks with Nintendo. Because like, I remember talking to Alan about Panda Cup in it was either 2018 or 2019, but I don't think each individual tournament takes that long, but I mean, I don't know how long it takes, right? So hopefully, because they're doing this, they're gonna like specifically have people that are working only to do this in Nintendo, so that way more tournaments can get approved for licensure. And some tournaments are going to get denied. Like, absolutely some tournaments are gonna get denied because they're like, hey, you don't reach the qualifications. And again, because they can just deny stuff, I really hope that like they just don't go through denying people that were like annoyed at Smash World Tour stuff, because that would be a lot of people. Tournaments involving the sale of food, beverages, and merchandise. Okay, well, merchandise sucks. This sucks, right? Involving merchandise sucks. But involving the sale of food and beverages, I don't think tournaments do this. I think that's a deal with like a venue, which I don't think necessarily applies. You know, if you run a tournament at a venue that has food, I think that's fine, but the tournament itself cannot be making money from food. So I think that's what that means. But like, I really hope there's just really easy licensing for these tournaments, because if that's the case, way less of an issue, right? Because then it just means that like every major is going to get licensed, or every major is going to have to like get up to code and then be licensed, right? Because I'm sure some will just simply not make the cut because they're not doing the health and safety requirements or whatever that Nintendo wants. So again, each tournament will need to go to Nintendo to get licensure. Again, a lot of tournaments already have had it and probably have good relationships with Nintendo, like Genesis. Frostbite doesn't exist anymore, but Genesis. Shine, which doesn't exist anymore, for other reasons. Riptide has, Big House has, like Low Tier City, Lost Tech City, the T-Lock guys, maybe Apex. Collision, there we go. I don't know if Collision was Nintendo sponsored, because based on what RJ's tweets, I don't think so. But again, maybe they could be. Port Priority, I don't know if they've been Nintendo sponsored, but again, could they? Probably. But Nintendo, the thing is, Nintendo seems like they want control so that if like they can mitigate as much harm to people and their brand as possible. So sponsors might have to start leaning on content creation hard. To be fair, they should already in the first place. That's the better strategy. You have to pay for a license. We don't know if you have to pay for a license. I don't know how that works. Can we no longer use the box controller in tournaments? At least in tournaments that aren't licensed, I don't know what the licensing applies. Do you think Battle of BC is in trouble? Battle of BC will almost assuredly get licensing because that tournament's amazing. So I'm assuming, again, the biggest issue, obviously there's, this is scary, but the biggest roadblock to what can continue to happen is how long Nintendo takes to approve a license. Because if it takes 7 months, then there is no tournament unless they already have a license that will be a major until, let's again, they said early November. So there will be no tournaments until June. And also then they have to wait to announce it until June. And then they need to have registration open. So I'm assuming, hopefully, my hope is that my assumption's correct, that it's gonna be a faster process. Because if it's not, that's crazy.
Hello, ESAM from the future here. Apparently there have been a couple of Japanese tournaments that have already been approved for licensure even after the guidelines came out yesterday, or they were already in talks. I'm not 100% sure, which, will be on the screen right now, the tweets and stuff like that. So hopefully this is correct. Hopefully the licensing isn't going to take long, and that reflects in North America too.
Also, tournaments can't have, let's say, Red Bull sponsorships. If you are not a licensed tournament, you can have 0 sponsorships, and you can make 0 money. Can you reuse a license? I don't fucking know. I doubt it. Oh, no, it says each tournament gets a number, actually, specifically. Again, if you're a company, maybe there's like company-wide licenses, which again kind of sounds like, from like my knowledge of how the circuit worked, that sounds like what Panda had. If like Panda gets to just license things because they're giving an overall circuit license to Panda, and Panda can choose what tournaments to give a license, which would be the people that agreed to like be on board with all the other stuff that Panda did. I have 0 idea if Nintendo will do more if you get a license, right? Like I don't know if they'll help with the venue stuff. From what I know from Panda, right? The fact that Panda had a Nintendo license and they were a licensed circuit allowed them to get huge sponsorships, right? Like, I think if you saw the leaked document deck that Panda had, like, Panda was sponsored by milk, the marketing campaign of dairy in the US. The pistachio thing was huge. Like, they made a lot of money from sponsorships for very few tournaments because it had Nintendo licensing. So Nintendo licensing, in my opinion, before all this shit happened, now it's like mandatory, basically. But before, in my opinion, it was still good because it allowed security that people knew, especially because I'm sure a lot of other companies know how strict Nintendo is with their license, or with like, shutting down tournaments or like not being cool with stuff. So like if you had a Nintendo license, it was a big deal. Can colleges still do collegiate brackets if they're not licensed by Nintendo? No. You can do 1v1 college tournaments, but you can't do something that qualifies you for like a bigger tournament. It says it specifically. HBox was yelling that he would run Coinbox until he gets a letter from Nintendo. The thing is, like, what I know from Nintendo is Nintendo pays a lot of attention. They've always paid a lot of attention. All the time. They will send HBox something. It's not like they haven't sent cease and desists to people. HBox might make content out of it, which would be, honestly, hilarious. I got a cease and desist. Ludwig and Charlie are 100% going to have to say something to say on this. Yeah, and Nintendo's not going to give a shit. Nintendo literally didn't change anything. Like, when the Smash World Tour Panda Cup thing went down, nothing changed. Because, like, whether you believe Nintendo's statement or not, they're like, yeah, we didn't shut down Smash World Tour 2022. We didn't give them licensing, but we didn't shut them down. And whether you believe them or not, sure. But it's not like they changed their mind. Still didn't happen. Watch the Throne is in shambles. I think Watch the Throne is fine because it was announced already and it's before 2023 is over. But like the main reason it seems like it was strict for like Smash World Tour was because it was a circuit and not just a tournament. And then also it was a worldwide circuit. Like again, Panda Cup was only in North America and it took 4 years, right? But like hopefully for individual tournaments, it doesn't take that long. They aren't gonna go after every local, right? They can. That's a lot of work, but I don't know how many people are working on this part. Nintendo ever licensed a Melee tournament? I mean, they were for Panda Cup. There was like 4 tournaments, 5 however many Melee tournaments there were for Panda Cup. All of this stuff that I just went over only applies to tournaments that don't get a license. If you get a license, none of this applies. And there probably, again, are other rules, but we don't know what they are because they're not public. I don't think Nintendo will try to punish people, otherwise that would get them huge backlash and make a PR disaster. They really don't give a shit. It simply cannot be worse than the backlash they got for Smash World Tour Panda Cup stuff. And the result of it is this, where they got more harsh guidelines. So that way everyone can know. Like again, before, like, I think the biggest thing of all of this, like, or one of the biggest reasons is like Nintendo was always very like hush-hush about what they're gonna cancel and what they're not. And it was always a surprise to people. Whereas this is like, hey, if you don't follow these rules, we're gonna come for you. And we're laying it out very obviously and very broadly. So if you break these rules, no one's gonna be on your side other than maybe thinking we're assholes for doing this in the first place. But you can't be like, oh, they can't do this, what are they gonna do? It's like, they told you what they're gonna do. They literally explicitly told you what you're gonna do. Like if you're in a class, because I'm assuming most of you were like in college or like high school or something. If you're in a class and you're doing something the teacher doesn't like, if the teacher doesn't tell you that you are doing something that they don't like and then randomly kick you out of the class, a lot of the people in the class will be like, hey, what, why, wait, why? What's going on? Why are you, what happened? We don't get it. And then they'll get mad at the teacher. But if the person's doing whatever the teacher doesn't like and the teacher goes, hey, person, I really don't like when people do this in my class. Can you please stop? If you don't, I will do something about it. And then you continue to do it. They go like, okay, I warned you, go to the office or whatever, right? Like, get out of my class. And then less people will be mad because they'll be like, yeah, why don't you just fucking listen to the fucking teacher, professor, whatever. This is that. It's like, hey, don't break our rules. If you break our rules, bad things will happen. And then if bad things happen, people are going to be like, oh my God, how did this happen? We had no idea what we needed to do. It's like, no, you knew what you needed to do. We told you what we needed to do. We explicitly told you everything you needed to do and what you could not do. And you didn't give a shit. So this one's on you. That's what's going on. That is what this is, right? The question is, are the rules for licensed tournaments going to be any less hostile? Probably. Again, they probably will be strict in terms of security, in terms of, you know, if they allow certain sponsorships, like they're probably, like if you're a licensed tournament, you probably still can't get sponsored by Bud Light or Weed Maps. Like Nintendo still wants it to be a family-friendly thing, but like, you know, sponsorships like HyperX, random peripheral companies of like keyboards and controller, well, not controllers because they want it to be first party, but like whatever products that are, you know, not taking from Nintendo, but you know, are still existing, like drink sponsorships like Red Bull, Gatorade, whatever, like those are probably fine. Is there anything the community can do to keep this from happening? Nope. It happened. How do you think Nintendo will punish people? Cease and desists, and if you ignore the cease and desists, they will sue you with their infinite money. Nintendo has more money than every single player that plays Smash, casually or not, combined. I wonder if Nintendo will enforce their invasion of competitive Smash. I mean, Nintendo's Smash tournaments, when they run them at like cons and stuff, are still like competitive rule sets, right? It's not like they run items and Smash Balls and shit. Like the one at PAX, which I know that was partially Panda Cup, but they've run tournaments at PAX before that have just legitimately competitive rule sets, right? Like free stock, 7 minutes, blah, 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 blah. Like, like the normal legal stages. I hope that the licensing doesn't take that long. That's my biggest hope, because if it doesn't take that long, it's fine. Do I think Nintendo will be okay with non-profit giving to charity type tournaments? I think you just need to be, like for charity stuff, they probably want licensure to make sure that one, you're doing it legit, and two, that it's not going to charities that like conflict with them for some reason. So do they intend to just cease and desist all locals that try to at least break even? No, you can break even. You're totally allowed to break even. You just can't make money. It literally explicitly says you can cover the cost of your event entirely. You just cannot make more. General strike, they can't sue us all. You'd be surprised. Nintendo pays a lot of attention. Like, they know what Start GG is. You know? Talking about it makes me feel a little better. I'm still scared because I don't know how many, like, again, my hope is literally like, I hope that the licensing is easy. If the licensing isn't easy, this really sucks. If it's easy, not the biggest deal in the world, just annoying, like just a hassle. What does this mean for majors? Majors need to get licensed. If you cannot get licensed, basically majors don't exist.